Hey everyone, my name is Eric. I am a software engineer. I've been doing that for I just learned or counted recently 14 years, and 6 or 7 of them in Angular. So that's like half of my career. I was surprised to realize that recently. Um, Coming to you with some live coding. This is the first time I will have ever streamed on Twitch. See if anyone joins as we go. And maybe about the fourth or fifth video that I'm going to put on YouTube. This is going to be a break from what I've been doing, which was a series on some test helpers. This time around, I'm taking a little break because I made a Sudoku app that, let me pull that up and show. I made this Sudoku app that I use when I'm just want to play. And I can take you through a tour of some of those features. The problem is right now it doesn't have a way to really make a new game. This is a temporary thing I've put in, and we're going to continue working on this new game feature. So what I've been doing up until now is pulling up a blank board, pulling up a different Sudoku app on my phone, and copying the board over into my app where I have all these cool helps that I like to use. Um, so let's let's dive into that a bit. I've got, let me show you what I have working so far. Um, this was yesterday, so I have to reorient myself here. Um, we have this generate new game, which is grabbing a game from the game seeds. Here we go. So this is the string format of a Sudoku board where, it just goes from top left across. Each character represents each cell where a 0 is blank. So, and then there are a series of transformations you can apply to a Sudoku board to end up with the same game experience, but that looks a bit randomized, and so you can get a lot more use out of just a single game seed like this. And let me just show you that. You can mirror it. So I think I go top to bottom, flip it, and the game actually plays the same, except it looks a bit different. You can rotate it 90 degrees, 180 degrees, so forth. And then reassign all the numbers. So you can change all the 1s to 7s and all the 8s to 4s and so forth. And it still has the same difficulty rating, the same techniques required to solve it. And yesterday, I found this Sudoku subreddit, and I asked a question saying, hey, I wrote a Sudoku app. It doesn't have a nice way to generate games yet. Does anyone have any suggestions for where I can go find some ranked by what strategies are required to solve that particular puzzle? And here is the list of puzzles that I have, the list of strategies that I have programmed into this app. And I did this, I'll start showing this to you. So erase candidates, the way this works, the 9 here is a given number, and these ones with the small numbers, those are the ones we want to solve and find the values for. And if that 9 is there, it means it can't be anywhere else in the row or the column or this 3x3 block. And so we can erase all those 9s and so forth and so on for the 2s, and then you can check this box and it will just do that for you automatically. And so you can sort of choose what level you want to play at. Me personally, I like to have these two checked off and let the app just take care of those for me. They're too sort of simple and mechanical for me to worry about having to point and click and spend my time doing them. And then, yeah, like some of the easiest strategies are like a lone single. Hey, this is the only 4 in that block, and this is the only 5 in that block. There's the only 4 in that row, so forth and so on. And each one sort of gets more advanced as you go down until finally you get to chains. And this is where I like to, let me just show you one so you can see what's happening here. Let's see if we can find here's an interesting one. This is where I like to, where I'm at in my gameplay, where I'm learning. I sort of am not too bad at finding things up to maybe here. All of these advanced techniques can almost all of them be found with chains anyway. So I sort of don't pay much attention to these. I just come down here and I'm learning to spot these chains. And so, for example, just to show you how this works, here's a chain. You start at either end, and you'll say, okay, if this is not a 3, then this is a 3, because that's the only other 3 in the block. If that's a 3, that's not a 3, because it's in the same column. And if that's not a 3, it's an 8. And if that's not an 8, and if that's an 8, this is not an 8. And if that's not an 8, that's a 3. So you can follow the chain along, and in the end you say, if this is not a 3, follow the chain. This is a 3. So either this one's a 3 or this one's a 3. That's what the chain has guaranteed us. And so if one of those has to be a 3, then neither of these can be, right? Because if this one was a 3, it would knock that out. And if this one was a 3, it would also knock that out. So that's roughly how one of the variations of these chains. So anyway, this is not supposed to be like a whole introduction to how to play Sudoku. Just a little introduction to the app that we're working within here. And sort of my motivation for making it. I wanted to, as I'm learning all these strategies, I wanted to just have this sort of menu available on the side whenever I felt like using it. And I might play with it hidden like this most of the time, but then if I think that I'm going to have a more fun time playing, if I peek at this and see what I need to spot, I can pop it open. Or if I'm just really stuck and I'm like, what am I missing? What strategy should I be on the lookout for to solve in this particular situation? I can pop it open and take a look and learn in that way. So anyway, where was I? We've got these new feature. I added this new game button. Let me just turn that off to avoid the distraction. That populates these numbers based on this game seeds file. So if I put the game seeds in here, it will take one at random when I push that new game button, shuffle it as we talked about earlier, and then populate the board. Now, I think the first thing I want to do, I've got an export in the string format to the clipboard, then re-import it, and now I do have a feature built in where the given numbers are supposed to be black while the ones that you type in yourself are this blue color. Let's see. Let's find where the 4 is by trial and error here, so you can see the right color. Because if I find the right spot for it, there we go. So you can distinguish which ones you've filled in versus which ones came with the game. So the first thing the next thing I want to figure out is when I push this new game button, I want those to be black. And I know that if I look in my cell, I've got this Boolean for whether that's given, and that's going to control whether it's blue or black, along with whether you can overwrite it and things like that while you're playing. So when I import, I know that it's turning things black like it should, but when I type push new game, it's not. So it's not setting that given flag. Let's see if we can figure out how I did this with importing and do the same thing when I push this new game button. So let's just pull this over to the side, get rid of some of the things I know I don't need right now. Okay, so the menu here is that's this bar. That's what I call the menu. And so this has the start new game, and it also has the import, so we can follow this along and see how did the given get set here when we import. This calls start new game from the coordinator, and so does this. Interesting. So it must have happened before this time if I'm using the same code. So it must be coming from the string to board. As I'm looping through in this string to board, I set the value and I flip that flag to true. All right. How shall we do something similar here? Generate new game is going to have to do something similar then. Oh, look, it even uses string to board. But then when I shuffle it, this must be where I lose that value, that given. Great. So, so I switch the board to this values representation, and in the end I switch it back to a board. And maybe this values to board needs to do something very similar to as string to board. And that's going to need to be cleaned up and refactored. I don't like this copy paste tweak ID. I don't like this copy paste tweak technique for writing code. I want to get that nice and consistent, isolated. Now if I do a new game, it's black. First mission accomplished already. And when I put in a new value, it is blue. Fantastic. So how shall we refactor this so that now I've got three different representations of the whole game state. We've got board, which is the object that has cells and booleans, and that's the full representation that's used internally in the app as you're playing. We also have the string representation, as we talked about from these game seeds. It's just a string of length 81 because there's 81 cells in a Sudoku game where each index represents one of the cells. And then this values representation I created brand new for this shuffleboard feature. So this is new code, and I want to make it nice and consistent with this string to board. How shall I do that? It looks like we've got almost everything the same except this line here. The way we're looping is different. Got a for each there. Does string have for each that'll loop through characters? I don't think so, but let's take a quick peek just to make sure. For each, nope. So we can't use that. We're going to need some way to iterate over them and get the value. So we just need to have a... Honestly, this array of values is already a fantastic way to write this loop. We just can convert then the string to an array of values and pass it into this function. I think that would do it for us. So let's give that a shot. So what we're really going to return is values to board and do what can we do? Can we map over a string as string dot map? No, but what about from Lodash? I'm using Lodash, or it's actually Microdash, which is from one of my open source libraries, which is just a sort of pared down clone of Lodash that just has a much smaller bundle size to incorporate into your web app that's going to go maybe on a lower end mobile device. I don't know if in Sudoku, if my app is going to run very well on a low end mobile device, because there's a lot of computation that goes into all these strategies. It tells you, live as you work, it finds all the things it can find to tell you how many, there are 30 candidates you can erase right now. And once we erase those, we'll start seeing some of these other strategies. Once it's done doing all the automated animation, bam, it recalculates, and it found 50 different chains up to length 9 that actually will do something to the board. So anyway, I've had to do some work to optimize that. And so I know that there's some real computation being done there. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent. All of that to say that there's this map function from Microdash we can use. And if we give that a string, what do we end up with? So we're going to map that, where we're going to hope that this is a character. Sorry, I will explain this code in one moment. I want to experiment a little bit while I can think through it. The values are undefined. Yeah, okay, here we go. Let's add braces. We need to, first of all, see if this it's giving us a number or undefined array. So it seems like that might work. I'm trying to think of how to test this quickly. Before I go to all the trouble of making a whole brand new functioning loop there. So let's just put in some code here to console log it. Let's map from microdash as string to just convert it to a number and see what that gives us. So then if I import from my clipboard, it should use that as string. Oops, okay. Let's do a new game first. Export that, then import it. Yeah, that seems to be working great. So the string representation has an 81 on the end. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Oh, yes, I am. Okay, I see exactly what's happening. So that map happens to be able to loop through a string, but it also grabs that length value. If I map over, let me just show you the keys, and we'll print out the keys from the map function. So, 0, 1, 2, 3, these are all the indices of the array, and then at the end there's this length. So that map function is not really designed to loop over a string. So that's right. That just means that we have to write our own little, sort of map of our own without using one of these nice built-in functions that are great if you can use them. It simplifies the code once you're used to and your team is used to. For us, it's all these Lodash functions or microdash. Once you have all of those sort of at your fingertips, then it makes the code, nice and more succinct. It's actually faster to read because you don't have to look through a loop and figure out, oh, that's just doing a map, when you already know what map is. But anyway, not going to work for us here. So we will have to do it by hand. So let's make our own values, and we will loop through here. And instead of all that stuff, we'll set values, push the digit, and then at the end we're going to return values to board. And if it's not a value, that means it's blank. Like it's not a 1 through 9. Is value says, is this a number between 0 and 10, so 1 to 9. Oops. So we always want to push something for every digit. So we want to say, if that's a value, then go ahead and use it. Otherwise, we're going to push undefined, because that's how these this values data structure works that I created last night, actually. Cool. Let's see how we're doing. Import. Not so well. So let's set a breakpoint there and see what we come up with. That's in board.ts. Import values is an array of 81 and they're all undefined. Okay, that makes sense. Let's see what a specific digit looks like that it's saying that it's not a value. Digit is 0. Let's see what's in the clipboard. What am I trying to paste? Probably something that's not a Sudoku board. So let's do new game. Let's export that, then import it. Hey, that's looking pretty good. I think that worked. So if we do a blank board and then import from the clipboard which uses our new string to board, we got it working. In the end, this doesn't really seem to be any more succinct than what we started with, but at least it's not repeated code, so I feel a little bit better about it. If we could have mapped over it without writing our own like for loop, that would have been nicer. Now, I just noticed this is looping backward. Hold on a minute. So we're starting with 986, and when we import that, 986 came in down here. That's not what we wanted. We need to loop over this like normal people. Oops, I is less than. Now we're talking. Okay, so now when we import, 986 is up here where we expected. Lovely. Okay, that's pretty nice actually. I want to make a commit here. And this isn't something that I want to be publishable. It's going to take multiple commits and a bit of work before I get this to a point I want to deploy it. So often, if it's something short that I know I can accomplish in one sitting, I will just work against master. But in this case, because I don't know, I'm going to create a new branch for it. And let's call this new game from database. Because eventually I'm going to have a database of games, a bunch of these seed games. Let's call it from seeds. Broken out by easy, medium, hard. And it's going to pick one randomly when you choose your level of game you want to play. And we'll see how far we can get along through that in this one video. Or in this one stream, depending on if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube. Great. Got a new branch. Let's make the commit. This is some stuff I'll show you in a minute that I was starting to work on. Here's the stuff I actually want to commit. So this shuffles an array. That's my new representation of a board that's nice for the shuffling. New functions to translate between the 3 different representations of a board. I'm just reviewing my diff. I highly recommend this anytime you make a commit. Just go ahead and look through all the code that you're about to commit and make sure it's all is ready. All is actually at the stopping point you thought it was. And for that to make sense, you're probably going to want a fairly small commit that makes sense to actually look back over. Break your work down into small pieces. This goes, if you're working on a big project at your company, you or someone has already taken this big idea and broken it down into maybe epics, and then taken this big epic and broken it down into user stories, and then In my team, it's up to the engineer then to take a user story and break it down into separate PRs and think about that ahead of time so that we can keep the diff that the other team members are going to review small enough. We like to keep it under 400 lines added. In GitHub, you've got that green number of lines added, and our rule is keep it under 400. I just noticed that I was a little off screen with my commit dialog. Sorry about that. Right, so we break it down into PRs, and then the PR is broken down into commits, of course. And so sorry, I keep getting distracted by all the new things on my screen because I'm doing a Twitch stream for the first time. I've got my normal streaming and recording software here. I've got a sort of console for Twitch down here so I can see if anyone has popped on, if they're saying anything in the chat. And then up here is the same screen that you see. So anyway, that's my process that I use, that my team uses, that I recommend for taking big pieces of work and breaking them down into little pieces that are manageable. And the smallest piece that anyone else on your team would ever see is individual commits. I don't generally tend to look at individual commits of other team members, but once in a while it's useful, and it's certainly useful in your development to see get to stopping points. Don't have 10 things on the go all at once that you have to switch back and forth between. You're going to lose track. I already have 2 things on the go right now. Like, you noticed I unchecked something here that I don't want to commit right now because I was just playing with some things last night. But now I have a goal in mind. I had this this Reddit thread where a guy gave me a link to all these game seeds I can use, which is fantastic. And so this is going to work. I'm going to now do the commits, carry it through. And that's enough chat about that. Let's actually make the commit. Okay, so I was reviewing my diff. There's the function to translate between the different representations of a board and to modify these helper functions to be more useful for the new board representation. That all sounds good. Yes, I pulled some logic out of this into one of my other files. That makes sense to commit as part of this same change. Menu. Oh yes, new menu item to start a game, which is also in the template. Beautiful. And shuffling the board, I showed you that already. This I expect to get fancier as we choose different levels of difficulty and such. But for now, it just pulls a random game out of the one-dimensional array of game seeds. And there are the game seeds. Great. I will put links to any commits I make in the comments if you're on YouTube once I upload that video there. All right, what shall we do next? Let's dig more into this database of puzzles that this lovely Grant MNZ told me about. Not only told me about, but provided. If we go look at this GitHub project he linked, Grant M, I assume that's the same Grant. Where'd he go? Grant M NZ, who replied on Reddit. Just lovely. He has this database of, what does he say? 340,000 puzzles I can use as game seeds, and it's all in the public domain. Just very happy. So he's got some explanation here of how he generated these puzzles, and I may dig into that in the future and get into generating some of my own puzzles or breaking them down better by not just easy, medium, hard, diabolical, but exactly which strategies you might need to use to solve that particular puzzle. And I think that might be possible based on the explanation he gave of how he categorized these levels of difficulty. But for now, I just want to get this into my app with his full easy, medium, hard, diabolical as he has them here, because that's really the last piece before I can give the link to this app out to friends and stuff and say, hey, if you like Sudoku, you can play on my app. That'll just be fun. That's a fun milestone to reach. So I have already downloaded the 4 levels of difficulty that he published in that GitHub repo. So my next task is to sort of parse these into the strings that I can use in my app and add some. Maybe the first thing we'll do is just get all of them into one array so that when you press new game, it picks a random one from that full list. And then after that, we can make a new game at each level of difficulty in the menu of the app. But 5 meg. I don't really want to package up, what is that? 15, 25, 30 to 35 megs into this app that this is meant to be able to be played on your phone, etc. It's a progressive web app, so it's just a browser-based app that you can install, and then on your phone it'll keep it offline for you, and you can play offline. You don't even have to be connected to the internet once you've hit the, I think it's called add to home screen button, at least on Android. So that's interesting. Maybe we'll take just 100 of each of these for the initial feature instead of all 340,000. And maybe someday in the future, if I want to, if I want to expose more games like that, I can make a backend for it that you can hit. We can download in pieces. We can get some subset of seeds saved on the user's device, that sort of stuff. But for now, let's just pick a subset. Just do 100 each, and then with the shuffle feature, that's going to give the appearance of far more than 100 each that people can use just in this game. And we'll see how big those turn out to be. So he's got these set up as the format, 12 bytes of some shash followed by 81 bytes of the actual puzzle. And this is all I really care about right now, those 81 bytes. So I want to grab each line, grab a substring from character 12 to with length 81, and that should do it. So I want to make a little script here, and I'm going to do it in TypeScript because this will be like a node script to do this for me, because then I know I always can use the same tooling. Anyone can use it on any, anyone who ever installs this repo, clones this repo, if they have all the tooling of what's required to build the Angular app, they're also going to have what's required to build this, run this script. So it has, this will be actually my first time setting up this tsconfig for a node script here. I want to use tsnode let's just get like a hello world working first of all. We want to make a new, let's do this as, let's start as a script here in our package.json. Let's call it, put it maybe here. Generate seeds. And this is going to do ts node puzzle generation Sudoku exchange, which is the name of the GitHub project that I'm grabbing these from, and process. And then we'll make a launch configuration for that guy where we run the generate seeds script. And I like to store all these in the repo so that anyone who opens up clones my repo and opens it in a JetBrains IDE will have all of this stuff ready to go, including me later when I upgrade to a new version or install on a new machine or something like that. Let's see if this even runs. Hello world. Aha! I don't really dig all the how long that took or whatever all this junk is around it. So we're running Node. So Webstorm has behind the scenes what if we switch to Yarn? Does that speed anything up? Because we're using Yarn in this project, which should have all the dependencies set up for us. Yeah, that's about, that is nicer. Okay, cool. I mean, that's some overhead, but I'm not going to be running this very often, so I'm not going to worry about it. Great. We've got a hello world. Next up, I know when I've done this before that imports, in order to import the way I like, the way I'm used to with just the, I think it's ES6 style imports, I might need to set something up in my tsconfig, which is why I put this here already. So let's next log out, let's just read in one of these files and print it out. So I'm not an expert on Node read file, something like read sync or read file synchronous, read file sync, fs.read file sync. Okay, so let's do read file sync. Haha, importing from fs just like that. Perfect. And let's try, I don't know if it's relative to this script or relative to the working directory. Let's start with this script and see what happens. Easy. Oh, I just realized that I've got this hidden behind my video. I'm terribly sorry about that. Hopefully it hasn't been. There we go. Let me put git over on this side. Okay. There we go. It doesn't know how to interpret this syntax. And I believe I remember, if memory serves, that there's something we can put here in our tsconfig that's going to make that possible for us. Ts node. Yeah, let's just search for that error message. No, it tells us right here, set type module in package JSON. Oh, in the package JSON. Oh, so it's not a tsconfig, it's a package JSON. And we want to set type to module. And is it going to pick it up from that, or do we have to tell it where to find? That seemed to do the trick. ESM module loader is experimental. Okay. Unknown file extension TS. Okay. Let's see if we can, let's search for that with TS node. Remove type module from package.json. Well, that's what we just added. I know it was working before we did that. With ES modules and TS node, here's another issue. Can try workaround from usage part. I don't. I wish we had someone on Twitch telling us how to fix this for us. But this is good. We can. Ooh. Ecmascript module support. So this is a GitHub ticket, and it's telling us the requirements to do Ecmascript modules in TS node. Okay. So this set the module to ES 2015. Module to ES 2015. Set type to module. Maybe this is the TS config. Okay. And what does this generally look like? Compiler options. TS. Oh, there's no dash. That's why I'm not getting any autocomplete. The editor, JetBrains editors are really smart about this kind of stuff. There we go. Now it knows what I have available. Compiler options, module. Yes, it did go in here. ES 2015 sounds good. Let's use whatever the Angular CLI does. ES 2020. Install it locally. Done. Include file extension in your import statements, or pass experimental specifier resolution node. Idiomatic TypeScript should import foo.ts as foo.js. TypeScript understands this. Well, I'm not importing any TS files yet, so let's just see if that was enough. Unknown file extension here. Okay, so maybe I need to work on the file extension here. Idiomatic JavaScript or TypeScript knows that JS works. Nope. Can't find the module. Unknown file extension. I don't understand. Let's try this guy without the extension. Arg unknown option. Unknown or unexpected option, experimental specifier resolution. Well, guys, how am I supposed to make this work? Invocation. Loader is TS node ESM. Unknown option loader. Node. We're not even using TS node. We're using node. Okay. The ESM module loader is experimental. Good. Experimental loader is experimental. Cannot find module. TS node ESM. So this doesn't come along with TS node. Certainly doesn't. All right. So we want to use ESM module with TS node. Let's see if there's someone giving more of a step-by-step how to import Ecmascript modules. I have a problem with some imports. I don't know how to correctly import the module TypeScript in my class. ESM modules are still experimental, that's fine. There are a lot of modules that do not support it. Instead of export. Your best choice is to use CommonJS module and run node without any flags. Type of the package must be CommonJS as well. So we have to set a few compiler options. That was here. I'm not liking that. I don't know if it's very interesting to watch me not know how to run a TS node in the way I want. I've done this before by passing in a module command line flag to TS node itself. And that allowed me to import the way I like. Maybe I should just go look at one of those past projects I've worked on, see how I did it there, and give me some hints. Let's just follow this through one moment longer in case I'm almost there. And if that doesn't work, so let's just set, oh no, I got a bunch of thumbs down there. Yeah, let's see. Let's go to where have I done this? I've probably done this in my in one of my open source libraries. Package.json. Yeah. Okay, so I pass in the project for it to use. That might not be necessary for what we're doing, but then we give it a -o where the module is CommonJS. And what does that -o do? Where do we put that if we want to set it up well and we're not? I want to learn how to do this without having to make one of these guys inside my scripts folder. It feels more natural to me to have it set up with these like package.json or tsconfig.json. And so I had in my mind, next time I do something like this, I'm going to figure it out. So you get to watch me. So if we can figure out what the configuration file equivalent of -o is, we can put this module CommonJS there. It looks like it probably is this one. So maybe let's do that and have this do the whole, what was that project trick? Dash dash project is tsconfig, this guy. Let's copy the path and get that in here and see what that does for us. Unknown file extension .ts. And how do I generally run these? There's no .ts there. I'm running ts node. Okay, let's go ahead and just try this way. And it'll try and solve at least this problem. Yep. Trying to at least get over this unknown file extension problem first, and then go back and get the I think that should do it. And then go back and get the config file version working. So that means we're not doing this part yet. Let's go ahead and just comment these out and try and get it working the way I've seen it work before. That should have allowed me to do something like anything in these scripts, which does import in this nice way. There's no configuration, special configuration file here. The command I was using to run it is just ts node. So if I do, let me pull up a terminal. If I do yarn ts node perfect, I've never used it from a command line, dot exit it said, then pass in the path to puzzle generation, Sudoku exchange, process. We just keep getting the same problem. What's different? Oh no, that's not the same problem. That's a new problem. Oh, that's fantastic. Unexpected JSON at position 0 in parse. Maybe that's not fantastic. Maybe that's even worse. That's not in my code. That's in the common JS loader. Trying to parse, I guess. Unexpected slash in JSON. Let's go back to hello world. Or actually, let's just have it do nothing. So it's not the content of my file that's causing the problem. What's causing the problem? Error parsing package.json. Okay, commenting those out. That's not how you comment things in. Okay, so it is reading this package.json. That's good to know. Let me just change the file extension so that it doesn't automatically pick them up. Rerun this again. Script runs. Put the code in. and we get an error saying no such file or directory. We are in business. That actually runs it. So now if I do generate seeds, I think that should be running the same command I just did. Yes, great. Let's get hello world back so that it's easier to read my output. I'm not trying to decide, is the error message because of what's actually in my code or because it can't run my code? Okay, so now let's move. This was in tsconfig. Let's, oh my. Get this back to something and see if that'll auto magically pick that up. Oh, in business. Okay, great. Wow, that was, yeah, I'll go with that syntax. Okay, we didn't need this package JSON. We need the tsconfig. And now we can run it. And yes, so we're not relative to this file. Maybe we're relative to the working directory. Puzzle. All right, let's just copy the path like that. What? Let me break the path again. I don't know what I just did to get an error message. To get our import error message again. Didn't I just have that working? We know it's working like this. Beautiful, and it's even reading the file now. And so when we switched it to not have the -o, why did I think that that was working? So let's try that that project option. Let's set the project to this guy. Maybe it wasn't. It doesn't auto magically pick up the tsconfig. Hey, okay. I don't know what I did in the middle where I thought I had it working, but obviously I didn't. Cool. Now, this is a buffer object, I think it said. So I want to, in node, I want to read files by line. Read a file line by line. Read line. Ooh, read line. Create interface. Read a file one line at a time. I don't really need to read it one line at a time. Read a text file into an array. That sounds like what I want. Each line an item in the array. There we go. Oh my goodness. It takes that much code? There we go. This sounds... This looks more like what I want. 400 upvotes. Yeah. Okay. That is what I wanted. I always like to upvote things that I find useful on Stack Overflow. Sometimes I use Stack Overflow, writing questions, answering questions, and I always, I don't know, feel good about upvotes. So I do the same for others. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule. All right, so, yep, we've got that already. We've got read file sync already. This is our path. Let's make this a function. Read, whatever, database. And we're going to give it the path. That's going to be a string array. Okay, so this is the path. We've got the toString. That was the trick. All I needed to do was toString, then I would have known how to take it from there. So we just return that guy, and there's our array. Great. So let's just log that and see how we're doing. It should spew out. It didn't spew out what I thought at all. Oh, right. Read db. Spew out whatever. Easy. 5 megs of an array with 5 megs of games. Okay, cool. So now let's actually parse this thing. Let's grab the 81 characters that we want from the middle of it. So for that, let's map it. Line.substring. Starting on, what was it, 12? So this has 12 bytes at the beginning, which is just a hash, followed by 81 bytes of the actual puzzle. So let's do from index 12, length 81. Looks like there's a space there that we need to take into account. So that looks like it could be a board. Once we get it into our seed, we can try it on the app itself. In fact, we could try it out in the app right now. Let's just copy, double click, there we go. Copy, come back to our app, and import from clipboard. Yeah, that looks like a Sudoku game. That's a nice, clever, symmetric pattern they came up with. And let's just see it solved. I don't normally just watch it solve like this, but yeah, looks like it's a well-behaved Sudoku board. If that thing we pasted in was not, we were off by one, we were getting in some characters that we shouldn't have, it wasn't the actual valid Sudoku board, it wouldn't have solved to just one complete solution like this, I imagine. So, fantastic. Turn those off. That's annoying when I'm developing. Okay, great. So now we have a way to read in a huge number of puzzles. Let's just get a path to get them into our app. We could write them as TypeScript, export them as something that ends up looking like a TypeScript file. And that would certainly be easy to import into the code. But something feels off about that. I don't like being in the business of, being tricky about creating a file that looks like code programmatically. If I really wanted to do that, I would grab the TypeScript package itself and use its AST to structure it and have it written out with prettier or something. which I've never done. That's I don't know how easy or hard that is. And it certainly is overkill for what we need to do right now. JSON's probably the natural choice. If we write this out as a JSON file, then we can maybe put it in assets and do a fetch request to grab it, and then it would come in as a separate web request. And the progressive web app tooling, we could set it up so that it caches that and is downloaded on the device as soon as you install the app to your home screen. That sounded like a pretty good way to go. So let's trim this down first of all to 100 puzzles, and then write it out into a JSON file. So there's our puzzles, and now let's return. Can I sample? I don't remember. There's a sample which will return. Can I sample 100 of them? Does that even work? No, that's just going to grab one of them. Now, is that because I feel like Lodash has a way to grab a random number of puzzles or elements out of an array. You know, a random subset of an array. I could be remembering that wrong, but let's investigate. If it does, and Microdash does not, then we've got a little more work to do. Sample size. Aha! Okay, is sample size in Microdash? Create function. Doesn't look like it. We can make very sure by checking the docs. Microdash. API documentation. Sample, and we do not have sample size. So let's go ahead and make that, and then sometime later I can transfer that over into Microdash itself. So that's going to go in this to replace for Microdash sample size. An array of things and a n, which I think they said equaled 1 by default. That's going to return a smaller array of things. Let's just be really naive about this. In fact, this feels similar to the shuffle I just made recently. Ha! In fact, it's almost the same thing as shuffle, but where we pull out n elements instead of all of the elements. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So we're going to make a clone of our array so that we can mutate it. And then we're going to make an array of length n. And for each item, it's going to be pulling a random value out of right. This pulls a random value out of values, and that grabs it. That's super cool. And so then for a shuffle, that really is just sample size of array where we get all of them. I would not have pieced that together unless I had just done those right next to each other like that. I happened to write this function yesterday, last night, when I was working on this same feature. Okay, so now we should be able to import that guy, and let's see if we end up with 100 random puzzles. Ah, okay, that's cool. So we've got 100 of them. And now we want to write them out to JSON. So that's write file sync. We give it a path. So let's go ahead and have them write straight into this assets directory somewhere. So let's make a new directory called game seeds, and get the path to it. So this is the output path. Input path is this guy. And then is it like a join, file.join? Path. There's a thing from path to join segments of a file together. So that's the input path. Right, and then let's say, yeah, let's make a function for that. Create DB, and let's make a difficulty. We're going to use that as we're going to use the difficulty as going to be the base name of these files. So that's going to be difficulty.txt will be the name of the file there. And then we're going to write out json.stringify puzzles. Oh, the path goes first. Output path difficulty as JSON. Ooh, spelled that wrong. And then let's create DB easy. That'll certainly work on the first try. As soon as if you write a lot of code before pushing play, there's never going to be a problem with that. Oh, it didn't have an error. And we have game seeds. Super, super cool. All right. I'm going to call that a commit. And then we'll do another commit after this to actually use that in the app instead of the hard-coded ones that I had put in there earlier. Yeah, this is the Webstorm launch configuration, which I do like to have in my repo. Beautiful. You know what? Before I commit this, I think it might work out better. I want to see if it works to change into the directory and then just run it without this -- project. It might just automatically grab this tsconfig from the working directory. So let's change into that working directory. And then run tsnode without the flag. itsconfig.json. Cannot find module. Ah, right. Oh, we changed our working directory. So these paths are off, but it ran, and that's what I wanted to see. Okay, you know what? I prefer the working directory of the script to be the root of the project rather than, this. I could see it being here or here. Having it be here, I'm not into that. So I'm going to undo that and leave it just as we had it. And now I'm convinced that I like it that way. And yep, I'll go ahead and check into my repo the same, the full database from, what was his name? Mark something? Graham something. Grant M. But I want to give him credit before I do that. So let me maybe do that here. Credit.md. I don't really know what the standard way to do this would be, like file name there or something. But anyway, I'll put something here. Many thanks to Grant M. Oh, how do I get to his profile? Grant M. Here we go. Grant M. For these seed, for these, for the Sudoku. For the Sudoku Exchange Puzzle Bank. Change that and putting them in the public domain. All the game seeds in this directory are taken from there. Good enough. Okay. So we're giving credit. We've got many megs of game seeds, and we can have a script to process them. Simple little thing to allow importing the way we want. There's what we're going to end up importing into the app itself after it's been processed through this script we made. New shuffle that I'll add to Microdash someday. Cool. That's a commit. Love it. I love the feeling of progress. Okay. Oh, pushing. Oh yeah, it's got to push up all those megs of... We'll see. This might have been a mistake. Maybe I want to leave instructions for how to clone Grant M's repo and use them straight from there instead of replicating it into my own repo. If I start having performance problems with Git when I push and pull, I will do that. I've never actually had huge files like that in a repo before. That's probably not true. I bet I have. And it's never been a problem. So we'll see. Okay. So we have a new JSON file there, and so we want to make the game use the new JSON file. Let's just... Okay. So, in our menu component, We want this button, right, let's just have that button pull its seed from that new place instead of, where was it now? Here. Game seeds. Let's just get rid of this. Yeah, let's just get rid of this. That should show us some errors where it was being used in game seeds. Yeah, it's not. Generate new game is probably what was using it, yes. So instead, we want to fetch our JSON file over HTTP. And we're in Angular, so let's do that with the HTTP client, which means we want this to be a service, not just a loose function like this. So let's call this the new game service. Let's make an injectable here, provided in root, because that's the standard. I don't have to explain that. At work, we often provide from components, but that's more of a special case. So provide from root. You are all used to that. Export class new game service, and we're going to need in the constructor the HTTP client, so that when we generate a new game, which is going to return a board, we're now going to probably, let's see, do we want to fetch this? Do we want to fetch this eagerly? No, let's for now just fetch it when you call this, so that a user who's not doing it as a progressive web app won't download any of those things until they push that new game button. And then if it is, then it's just going to be right there on their device. So this is going to have to be asynchronous to give us time to fetch it. And the seeds will be HTTP client.get from actually, I don't remember off the top of my head if I need that to promise. Yeah, it must. An observable, the await language level feature is not going to know about observables, so I have to turn that to a promise. Now, what URL do I use to get assets? We should be able to figure that out from here. I think it might be in assets like that. Assets, what did I call it? Game seeds, easy.json. Cannot get that. How do I serve assets? I might have to restart the CLI for it to pick up these assets. Let's try that first, then I'll go Googling. So I need to just get my app compiling again so that the CLI will, oh my gosh, so that the CLI will be able to compile to completion. Lovely. Hey, okay. I just needed to reboot the CLI. So that is the path to get to these things. All right, let's start putting all this back. Actually, that's going to be different by the time we get to it. That's going to be new game service. I like to alphabetize my imports. New game service. I'm going to need this uncommented for autocomplete to pick it up. New game service. And the board is going to be, okay, so this is now going to be an asynchronous thing where the board is awaiting this dot new game service dot generate new game. Since I'm in the new game service already, I don't need, I can have just generate as my method name, and it's still very clear and easy to read. I like my names to be complete. I don't like abbreviations. I like them to be descriptive. I don't care if they're long, but I don't want them to be long needlessly, and I feel like that would have been the case here. I already know it's the new game service, so if I'm generating something, it's going to be a new game. Doesn't add anything to make that any longer. Okay, fantastic. So let's I have to re-import all my things. Somewhere I had it commented out. And we need to tell them what type of thing we're expecting. So this should be an array of strings. All right. Angular compiler not loaded? What? What did I do? Let's reboot that one more time. JIT compilation is discouraged for production use cases? No provider for HTTP client. Okay, that's an error message I understand. I don't know what mess things got into there. So we need to pull up our app module and make sure we import the HTTP client. HTTP client module. Then we refresh. Everything's looking good. And when we do a new game, we are pulling, I recognize what's going on here. Maybe I don't. The path? Did I not put in the path? I didn't put in the path. There we go. That'll do it. So the path is assets game seeds easy.txt. New game. Now what? 404 not found. Localhost assets game seeds. Oh, not txt, JSON. Yay! Oh, that is so exciting. It's pulling a random game, shuffling it all up from, let's see, it's reloading this every time. It's 8K. That's no problem. 100 games is 8K. We could make it 1,000 games. And I would still feel very comfortable with users downloading that and putting it on their mobile devices. That's a commit point, man. That's beautiful. So what have we done? We didn't really touch very much. It was mostly fiddling. Load new games from the easy seed file. Sure. Love it. I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, we're gonna finish this up and get it to a deployable state. I feel like we're on the home stretch. Now we just have to piece everything together and get back into the Angular world where I'm super comfortable. Um, we're going to make an easy, medium, hard new game options to choose from in that menu. We're going to update our Sudoku exchange parser processor to pull out seed files for each one of those. Maybe we'll bump it up to 1,000 seed files instead of 100 seed games. And then I think that'll be it. I think then I can deploy it and start telling people that they can use my Sudoku app and have it be actually interesting for them. That's great. That's fantastic. Oh, we'll also have to test that it works right as a progressive web app. Great. So I'll be back in a little bit. I will see you soon. Okay, we are back and ready to go. I got myself a little bit of fuel here, smoothie, to power through the end of this new feature, which I'm just still very excited to have. Um, let's let's get to it. Let's generate the um, different levels of difficulty and put them all in this assets as the next step, and then we'll rearrange our menu to start giving us a way to access them instead of hard coding just this one JSON file here. Okay, so that was in process here. Let's do. Let's see. Let's make that a const. Sample size. Let's make it 1,000. Oh, ha! That's the name of the function. Resulting the number. I want the number of puzzles that are going to end up as seeds in the app. Num puzzles per difficulty. Num seeds. Okay, that'll do. And I feel like maybe that belongs, this part of it belongs more in the responsibility of this function instead of this one. Maybe we'll put it here. Okay. So we're all set up to very quickly do all of our difficulty levels in this process script. So we have easy, we have medium, we have hard, and finally diabolical. So if we run our generate seeds script again, hopefully we'll end up with 4 files here. Beautiful. 84K each. I'm satisfied with that. And then let's go to the menu. Let's go to the new game service and have it choose a difficulty level. So the difficulty is going to be one of easy, medium. Let's make this a type. We're going to want to use this in a few places. Difficulty. Easy, medium, hard, or diabolical. And then we'll be able to use that here. So now if we pass one of these things in, we should fetch the right JSON file and grab a random game from it. So here, let's take in a difficulty again. And then in our template, let's just hard code easy again and see that we're still working. So that worked, and how do I just really guarantee that I'm running with my new code? That somehow something didn't compile right or whatever. Let's just open up the sources, for menu component and see that it takes in a difficulty. Beautiful. So now here we're all set up to do our different difficulties. We can do easy, medium. Love the autocomplete. If you take the time to keep things tightly typed, it helps you. The whole purpose of the typing is to make your development experience better. You know, catch errors for you, give you autocomplete, give you documentation in the hovers, all that kind of stuff. So you're literally, the purpose of doing all of these typing things is to do yourself a favor and give you an easier time using it. I don't have to worry about typos. I can just use my editor. All right, so this is going to be easy, medium, hard, diabolical, and then, all right, let's just see that working first, and then we'll make the UI a little nicer. So medium, cool, diabolical. That's diabolical? That's a lot of given digits. They like these patterns. That's interesting, especially knowing how he said he had generated them. It was not by hand. Yeah, patterns everywhere. Huh. Let's just see. See, now we have entire blank rows there. Let's just see how diabolical these really are. Let's see how many strategies we have to use to solve it. I'm just curious. Hidden singles. Nope. This is easy. Oh, okay. Maybe it gets harder right at the end. Okay. Yep. You have to use a chain now, or I mean a jellyfish. I don't know who uses all those. Wow, that eliminates a lot. It's a productive one. But 100 chains, that's not so bad. That doesn't seem so diabolical to me. You know, I'm playing games now where you get down to the chains and you're doing, you know, there's 10 of them in the entire puzzle for you to be able to find. So it takes a long time to hunt for them all and find them. All right, let's just start doing some chains. Let's just see how many chains we have to actually do. Yeah, these are the ones I tend to spot myself before I then just go looking for chains. So you get a feel for how tricky I would find it. We had to do 3 chains, 4 chains, 5. Yeah, I would call this hard, not diabolical, but that's great. Had to use chains. That's exactly the level I want to be at. So maybe I will start playing with it on diabolical and see how it goes for me. Cool. And then, oh right, and then just to prove these difficulty levels are working out, let's go to easy. And with just erase candidates and lone singles, which are, you know, almost automatic to spot if you're doing all these notes like that, you can finish the whole puzzle. Sure enough, that is easy. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, that's exciting. Okay, so now I just want to arrange this. Maybe put a little header here that says new game, and then maybe a separator here for import and export. Yeah, so let me just pull up the material docs. And this is a, oh, what is this thing called? This is a side nav, which has inside of it an action list. Okay. That's going to be in list, I believe. And let's just look at our examples. There's a divider. We want one of those. Action lists, icons, multiple sections. Here we go. H3 mat subheader. Let's use one of those at the top. And call it new game. And then mat divider to separate them. To separate the import and export. See how that looks. New game, easy, medium, hard, diabolical, or a blank board, import, export. I mean, that seems good enough. Oh, that's so exciting. That's a commit, and that's the end of the goal. That we reached our goal here. Seed games, new games from seed for difficulty levels. I mean, it feels like it's a real Sudoku app now. Beautiful. Oh, something I have not yet spoken about is testing. I normally test everything I write. When at work, I test everything I write. For my open source libraries, which we glanced at briefly earlier in this today, I write full test coverage for everything, documentation, the whole 9 yards. So far, for this Sudoku app, it's just been purely for fun. Not that I haven't written tests for other apps I've made that are purely for fun, but I don't know. This one is more purely fun, I suppose. I do like writing the production code better than writing the test code. I do it a lot, and I appreciate having the test suite, but I don't find it as entertaining to write. So this app is complex enough. I feel a bit guilty. I feel like it should have tests. If I go in and actually tweak those algorithms to find all the solutions for those strategies on the side, the algorithms behind finding all of these, it's problematic. I don't know if I broke anything, but it's my app. I'll do what I want. Okay, so let's commit that, and then I think I'm ready to deploy this. You know what? I think I would like to try this out. Right. I would like to try this out in a preview. I forget what they're called. So I have this thing I'm deploying with Firebase, Google Firebase. And they have a new, I think, beta feature to deploy to a temporary URL. And so I can do that and play with it without risking corrupting anyone else's install of the app. And then I think we should be able to see if all of the caching is working well with the progressive web app. So let me go look up how to do that again. Firebase preview link. Generate preview link with social metadata. I don't care about social metadata. Dynamic links. Oh, that's a preview of a. That's not the kind of preview I'm looking for. Okay, let's go to Firebase console. Hosting. preview channels. Here we go. Firebase hosting channel deploy. Preview name. Oh, give it a name. Okay. And do I have access to Firebase here? Sure enough. Firebase hosting channel deploy, and I give it a preview name. New game feature. And this will spin up a new temporary subdomain that I can use to, wow, that was so fast. Right here. Oh, the link is broken because web.app. Okay, here we are. And we have, well, oh, I deployed it. I need to compile it first. Okay, no problem. Let's look at our deploy script. I don't actually, I should set up a script for this actually. That would make a lot of sense. But for now, let me just do a, what do I do for deploy? Oh, it just runs ng deploy. Okay, I'll do it on my own. That's fine. I know how. ng build prod. So this is going to CLI command that's going to do a production build with full minimization and everything into the dist folder, and then I've got Firebase set up to deploy out of the dist folder. Or actually, I think now that it sets itself up to do that, it's gotten really nice with the Angular schematic for I think it's at Angular/Firebase. If you do ng add Angular Firebase, it sets it all up to deploy to Firebase with these scripts, and does a lot of configuration for you. I'm pretty happy with where they're at. It still does feel a little immature, like their functionality is not, their documentation is not caught up to their functionality yet. But I love where it's going. So we have assets. We do have game seeds in the assets already. That's great. Just because I put them into that folder, the CLI already copies your assets from there into the final distribution. I wonder if there's anything we have to do in this web manifest. Prefetch assets. Installs lazy and updates prefetch. And it just copied them all in there for me automatically. How cool is having a build chain all set up for you? I mean, I don't want to have to go figure all this out, and I don't have to. It's got a hash table, so if I update these seed files, the progressive web app is going to make a network request just to get this hash table. And if the content of any one of these assets changed, it's going to re-download just that one. Behind the scenes, after the user has already pulled up the progressive web app and is fully functional with all of the data already there on the device, it's going to update the files in the device in the background so that the next time they restart the app, they'll have the new version. Loving it. I am a little curious whether I really want to do lazy here. I might want to switch that to prefetch, because if these game seeds are going to be required, like if you install the app and for whatever reason you have never actually generated a diabolical game before, then this makes me wonder if it's going to actually have ever fetched it and have it on your device ready for you to go in case you're offline. And maybe I need to switch this to a prefetch so that it will, even if you've never requested it before, have it on your device ready for you. So that's something to play with. Okay, so that was the compilation. Let's redeploy this now. And I don't know if it's going to reuse that same URL or give me a new one, because I'm using the same name here. I've never tried to do that. So 1BANC 8XR, 1BANC 8XR. So if I refresh this, and then I have to wait because it's checking in the background to see if the files have been updated. And by now, hopefully, it re-downloaded them. And there's our new code. So cool. And now let's go ahead and open up this, and we should see a network request because of that lazy loading. I think we're going to see a network request now that indeed did go out. If I turn that off. Now if I do it again, yeah, it doesn't actually go to the network, and it's just served by the progressive web app technology, the service worker. Beautiful. But let's play with that prefetch thing and see if that will do what I was just speculating. That was this guy, I think. Install mode is also prefetch. And then let's rebuild and redeploy that. You know what I'm going to make while I'm waiting? Whoa. I want to make ng deploy. I wonder if ng deploy will take an option for a, what do they call it? A preview URL? Preview channel? Angular Firebase. Angular Fire. Where can I see? Oh, maybe I can do like a Firebase. No. ng deploy help. Options. Configuration and a message. The name of the project to deploy. So nothing on the command line. So then the only thing left might be, if there's something I could do in a configuration file, I could make a staging target instead of my production target. And I've done that before to go to a different Firebase, entire different Firebase project, but that's overkill for my needs here. All I want is one of those preview URLs, preview channels. Preview channel. I'm guessing preview channels are in beta. I'm guessing it's not possible, but let's just maybe search this for preview and see if it happens to turn up in a markdown file. What? If you want to preview your Angular Universal project before we deploy it to Firebase functions. Well, that's not Firebase hosting. ng deploy is now interactive. And since version 6, and functions on I forgot what SSR means. Okay, well, let's find out. ng deploy preview. Do I want to do this yet? I think the Angular CLI complains if you pass in an option that it doesn't recognize. What I don't want to do is actually deploy to production before I've had a chance to run this preview. Maybe I'll continue doing it by hand for now. And then before I deploy to production, I'll try it with that preview flag, so then in the future I'll know whether that's going to work. Okay. So I did a build. Now I want to redo this guy to update my preview channel. So now if I come back here, we should see it. Oh, we don't want to disable cache. I often run, if the developer tools are open, I often like it to have cache disabled to remove some variables when I'm debugging things, basically. You know, Karma has some issues with corrupt compilations. I don't know what else. It just gets it out of the way. It's all, I'm debugging everything localhost. There's not like any performance reason I need to cache anything. And so this is sort of my default. But in a case like this, I'm wanting to actually observe how the caching behavior is behaving. So I'm going to turn that off, and then I can inspect things without changing how they work. So let's clear storage is going to completely uninstall the progressive web app and everything, so that the next time I refresh, it's going to be like a brand new. Let's even be real sure and do this, which I think I already emptied the cache with what I just did in the application tab. But anyway, let's see what happens. So it has not downloaded any assets. Let's see if that that config file from here, I don't even see that in the network requests. This guy. NGSW? Huh. We've got this guy. I didn't think I had to actually install it before I would see. Oh, what the heck? I'm on localhost. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that was not the progressive web app, and that's why we didn't have any of that stuff going on. So we're not caching, we're refreshing. Here we have NGSW. Ah! Hey! And it's prefetching everything for us. Woo! Love it. Exactly what I wanted to see. So it waits like 10 seconds or something to make sure your app's not doing any of its initialization, I suppose. And then finally does all of its prefetching. So now, if we go offline, we can refresh. We still have an app. We can even generate games. And it's just fetching it from the service worker locally. It doesn't care that we're offline. And so this is on your phone, I don't know. I do these because I like to do this on my phone, and then I don't have to have I can be in airplane mode. I can do this on an airplane. All right. Very pleased. Very pleased. Okay. So now I like that. Let's try that ng deploy preview and see if that goes to a preview channel. Okay, it didn't complain. It's actually building. We'll see if this deploys to production or if it deploys to a preview URL, preview channel. Oh, it's some sort of localhost preview. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Would you like to deploy? Oh, it gives you a preview before the deploy goes through. That's actually a neat feature. I still want to see it. I still want to see it not localhost. Localhost can have different permissions in terms of like, oh gosh, SSL is not required for all the features that might be required in anything other than localhost. in terms of the browser treats localhost things specially in some cases. So I'm not going to like that as my go-to sanity check before deploying to production in general and as my normal process. But that is a slick idea. Would you like to deploy to Firebase hosting? Yes. There we go. It is live. Huh. Oh, that's from when I hit Control C to stop the preview server. Okay, so now if we go to production, and you can actually use my app, it's at sudoku.simonson.app. There it is. We are not yet on the new version, so we wait for a little bit for it to go prefetch the updated files. Good to go. Let's commit that small change I made. Ensure game seeds are available for offline use. Commit that, and then I can get this into master. New game from seeds. We can merge that into master. On these apps, little hobby apps of mine that I just work on myself, I don't do pull requests and everything like I would if I was on a team. I just manage it all straight from oh, here we go, straight from Git locally. Push that master. Now master and production are in sync. That's a good rule to follow. Always have your code that's in your master branch be the exact same code that's running in production, minus the time in between it takes to do this little deploy process that I just did now. Or if you're developing in master, if I'm doing just a small new feature that I know I can just finish in one sitting, I'll work directly against master. And then when I reach a nice commit point, it's going to also have to be like a production ready commit point. That's sort of a rule for when I'm working directly on master, so that I can just keep them in sync. And if something comes up and I have to leave and come back, and then whatever, I lose track of the project, I know that those are always in sync. Okay, fantastic. This is great. What's left? I could make a little script to go to a preview app, but I'm feeling pretty done for the day. This stream has been going for over 2 hours, 2.25 hours almost. I think I'll call it done. Maybe I will see some of you again soon. Again, I'm Eric. Thanks for watching, sticking with me to the end of this, and I hope there was something useful for you. If so, and you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and put something in the comments, and I would love to hear how it helps.